How come there is no end to extremism in Pakistan?
Well, Pakistan has been robbed by another suicide attack on its security forces.
Why there is a sudden rise in suicide bombings that has been seen in Pakistan? How is Afghanistan related to it? And what is it that is fueling the radicalization in our neighbor country? Pakistan's sudden rise in suicide bombings is not an internal crisis. As the militants have escalated the attack, our western border becomes more unpredictable. The tensions will spill over across the region, and India needs to understand and also recalibrate the strategy. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh, and today we are going to understand that what is the reason behind the recent spike that we have seen in suicide bombings in Pakistan, how it is replication of such a time that was seen in Syria in 2014, and also understand that where this leaves the whole of the region at. So starting with understanding that what we are talking about, that what is this new wave of suicide terror that we are talking about. So Pakistan, after almost a decade that I am talking about, especially after 2014, is seeing a fresh wave where there have been multiple suicide attacks, and there are two regions where it is mostly concentrated. First is Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and the other one is Balochistan. Both of the regions which are very not happy with what is going on with Pakistan and have historically tried to put their grievances across, but that has not been addressed. Other than that, when we talk about the militant groups, there are multiple militant groups, be it Taliban of Pakistan, be it ISKP, then we have BLA, the new suicide wing there. But the whole important thing here you have to see that the whole pattern of it has shifted. Now it has become a more urban attack, more high value targets are being seen, and multi-attacker assaults are being bombed across a nation which lies so close to us. The numbers are so huge that we have got to see multiple suicide bombings in recent time itself. In 2025, if you talk about, there has been a 50% increase in terms of militant attacks that have been seen as compared to the last year. And as of now, the two main militant outfits, ISKP as well as TTP, they are directly following the Syrian style tactics where there is use of multi-bomber, where there is use of vehicle-borne IEDs. So when I am saying Syrian style tactic, it is not just about how these blasts are done, but how this wave of extremism, this wave of instability was facilitated in Syria back then, and now how it is being facilitated in Pakistan. Now when we are talking about the whole scenario, we also have to understand that there are multiple reasons that we have seen this spike. The first reason that we get to see that Taliban of Pakistan, that has reconstituted especially after the post-2021 Taliban victory. So when we are looking at international relations, you have to understand that the main administration of Afghanistan now lies with Taliban itself, and India also is trying to make a way with the Taliban regime. So this is a consequence where we get to see that the Taliban regime has reconstituted TTP, and this will have regional implications as well as global implications. Other than that, we are seeing that there is highly aggressive expansion when we are talking about ISKP. Furthermore, new suicide tactics are being adopted, and as I have already pointed, urban shift has been seen. Now, these bombings are not just rise because of these factors. There is a huge contribution that is coming from another regional player, that is Afghanistan. When we are talking about the whole geopolitical scenario, this can easily happen in any other country where your neighbor is not facilitating and fueling the fire, but also there are factors from the Pakistan itself which we will be talking from here on. So when we are talking about Afghanistan, we have to understand that the Taliban regime which is present in Afghanistan as of now, that gives safe havens to the militants which are present. There are proper training camps, reorganization hubs which are present, and most importantly, they have the US weapons access which have been left by US once they left Afghanistan, and then Taliban took over. Furthermore, fire has been raised by fueling of rift between Pakistan and Taliban, which used to be allies, and this recent rise in the suicide bombings also comes from this very fact. Other than that, when we are talking about the Syrian tactic, you get to see something similar here, that ISKP is using operational base in Afghanistan to bomb in Pakistan, just like IS was using Raqqa and Idlib to bomb across Syria. And as an outcome in both the situation, we saw that cross-border sanctuaries where militant outfits can find safe havens. This will only lead to high frequency, high impact attacks that will be seen, and this is where we are seeing just suicide operations. Now, in this whole scenario, a huge fact is played by Pakistan's own economic crisis, where it is this economic crisis when we are talking about merely 2.7% growth, poverty at such a level where you see, if you believe the international numbers, it says 22%, but it is way more than that. Other than that, high youth employment. Now, this directly facilitates a situation where there is extreme economic desperation, and there is also governance vacuum. And this leaves the space for radicalisation to happen. How? If people are unemployed, they do not have anything to do, there is cash stipend for people to be part of the militant outfits. There are more payments if people are dying in suicide attacks. There are networks which are not facilitating education, but they are offering food, boarding and identity, and this is where recruitment takes place. So, the most crisis-laden cities, the most crisis-laden regions will see the major recruitments, and this is where the ideological infiltration of the people actually takes place. So, now what is happening in Pakistan is not just happening because of Afghanistan as a factor, it also has the internal reasons which is facilitated. It also has historical reasons, constitutional reasons, which we will not be getting into very detail, but this is where we get into the comparison when we are talking about Syria's situation from 2013 to 16. We got to see suicide bombers, dual suicide bombers, then we also had SVBID, truck bombs and targeting of mosque, blasts occurring. Basically, it is the same model where the safe welfare networks were used to recruit fighters and basic things were given, and this is where ideological indoctrination used to happen. Now, why we are speaking about this? But because at the external security, national security level, the more volatile our borders get, the more problematic it becomes, and that is why we get to see that Pakistan's suicide bombing have clear Syria-like structural features where there are foreign sanctuaries in the neighborhood. In Afghanistan, there is economic collapse which is present in Pakistan, sectarianism which is present across Pakistan, and weak state presence which Pakistan is always known for, and recently brought in 27th Amendment also add to all of this. Now that we have established the basic understanding that this is a replication of the model, now let us straight away get into that how does this impact India. First, we have to understand that a very sensitive region, Jammu and Kashmir, is right there. There can be the spillover of militancy into this very region. Whenever we get to see Pakistan becoming unstable internally, that is where we get to see the jihadist groups operating, especially anti-India jihadist groups, operating especially to target this very region. Second thing, we also get in this very context only, the LOC infiltrations will rise. There will be a risk of ISKP's expansion because India-centric propaganda has increased in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa region for the longest time, especially after 2020. Other than that, we also have to understand that arms and smuggling might be intensified, and this is just the internal impact that we are talking about. What about the external impacts? China and Pakistan will have a strategic ground where they will have one conflict zone, and they will be able to target two adversaries, Afghanistan as well as India. And for the longest time, when Afghan will remain unstable or Pakistan will remain unstable, India will lose on its influence. So when we are talking about the problem in Pakistan, it will not remain there. It will have a lot of spillover effect which will come to India. And the most important effect that we will get likely to see is the fact, just like Syria, when this situation intensified, there will be movement of people. People will be using the borders, and there will be issues related to refugee spillover as well, which has been a huge concern for India in the past, and we wouldn't want to add more to that. So this situation needs a holistic look and addressal, especially through the global multilateral forums. And also let me know your suggestion that what can be done to address that situation at the international level in better ways. That was all for today. Thank you so much.